What can you share about what the market was then? I mean, clearly, because again, the Cowboy fans, it's a bitter pill. The Ice Bowl team, the Favre team, the Rodgers team, the Des Cauditt team, the team that one and done McCarthy team just a couple years ago. Why Green Bay? And again, I understand they needed the cap and they wanted a player. Who else was in this mix? How wide a net was this thing? Best you can tell.
There's a lot of Packers Cowboys connections.
I know that, and it's tough.
Jerry said he didn't take into consideration.
Clearly.
He said, other than trading him in the NFC East, we don't really care because you play half these teams on a yearly basis anyway. I mean, what I would tell you is there were, a bunch of other teams. Okay, I got a lot of calls, I had a lot of conversations with GMs, coaches, and people in the league, all trying to get to the bottom of why is this situation so weird? Like, what is actually going on with Micah? And a few weeks ago when I was talking to people, and inevitably I would say, like, the price was pretty clear, but I'd say, do you think that they really want to do it? And everyone's kind of like, we can't tell. They talk about it. They talk about a price, which would indicate what it would take to get the player. But is Jerry ultimately going to say, yes, we are doing this? That only became clear really over the last week or so here. The other thing that I thought was informative, Rich, was when some teams were digging into this with Micah Parsons, they didn't see a guy who necessarily was going to be an ideal fit. And I know that sounds completely crazy. Again, I would go back to the draft when Micah came out, where there were some coaches who would say, well, what does this guy really do? Is he a lineman? Is he a defensive end? What is he? The answers from the teams that liked him was everything. He can do everything on the field. But if you're going to give up $47 million per year on an extension like the Packers did, 42 and change in terms of the life of the deal, and give up 2 first-round picks and give up a player, you better have a really good plan for him Monday through Saturday, as well as on Sundays, to get the most out of Micah Parsons. There were some teams that just kind of backed away a little bit just because this is such a gut check, Rich. We didn't see 10 years ago, you didn't get trades like this. Trades are a relatively new phenomenon in the NFL. We now have seen a handful of trades involving 2 first-round picks for a player. The Rams did it with Jalen Ramsey. The Seahawks did it with Jamal Adams some years ago. There's a few other examples, but it's not a really long list of times the teams have been able. Khalil Mack, obviously, although that ended up being, in terms of the picks that went back a little bit less than 2-1. It doesn't happen very often. Usually you only see those caliber of trades involving quarterbacks because that's the one position where you can really make a sea change. But for the Packers, again, a team that for decades had not operated like this, to go all in, it really seems like a reflection that the time has come and the league has evolved and it's worth taking this type of a risk. The Packers can justify it in their heads as, well, it's not really 2 first-round picks. We'll just count Micah Parsons as our first-round pick next year, and we get him this year. And, okay, 1 additional pick beyond that. But those first-round picks also are your young, cheap workforce that keeps your salary cap and your roster healthy, which has been a hallmark of what the Packers have done. Ron Wolf hired Brian Gutekunst into the organization in 1999 as an area scout. Ron Wolf was the same guy who pulled off the Favre trade and signed Reggie White. This was a Ron Wolf style move from one of his, at the time, very young proteges. And texting and talking with people in the building yesterday, Rich, at Green Bay. I said this on TV earlier, but Matt LaFleur's texted me with a few other words I won't mention it. It was, I cannot sit down.
I bet.
They are floored about this magnitude of a move a week and change out from the season.
A jolt in the building. In the 90 seconds I have left, Tom, give me the split on the number of people around the league who are texting you saying this is wild, this is insane, or actually see the Cowboys' point of view. What's the split?
I would say that more people are surprised that the price wasn't a little bit more for Micah Parsons than anything. It really depends. It's impossible to go apples to apples with a trade involving a player, because if the Cowboys viewed Kenny Clark as a guy that in isolation they would have traded, let's say, a 3rd round or 2nd round pick for, okay, then basically you got 2 1s and a 2 or a 3. But there were other teams that thought, just based on how good the player is now, productive, how young, that even with the cost in terms of salary, that, they would have anticipated that the Cowboys could have gotten a little bit more. There's an understanding about the reset value of this. What people were floored by is just the fact that these 2 teams made this type of deal. Jerry Jones, who year after year has his pedal to the metal and is 82, 83 years old, and you wouldn't think has an appetite for a rebuild, is now talking about, hey, we got all these picks over the next couple of drafts to build the thing. And the Packers, who never are the team that finalized this deal, are all of a sudden the ones making an all-in type of move that just historically has not been their jam. It's a fascinating storyline that we'll be following all season, and particularly, Rich, looking forward to that Sunday night game,
no doubt.
Week 4 in Dallas.